All right, friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related, and this is related to Bannerlord. Today, we are going to get some first impressions and try some battlefield tactics with Shokuho. I'm going to probably brutalize that pronunciation a few times, but this is the new Amazing Overhaul Mod, Japanese feudal era overhaul mod set in the 15th century of Bannerlord. Now, I've been playing for about 10 minutes here. We've got a few mods that are up and working in combination with this. We have the RTS mod and some other mods that I really like. Working with this, we will talk a little bit about the overall stability of this. So far, it seems quite stable. Haven't had any crashes yet, although a lot of guys have experienced that. And amazingly, these are all the same versions that I've been using for the Valandian campaign. I will talk a little bit about the Valandian campaign and what my plans are for the next couple weeks with this amazing mod. Now, the beauty of this game is already evident. It does feel like Bannerlord 2.5. It's very advanced. And this first battle here, I just want to establish if cavalry have been fixed in Bannerlord. Now, what the heck is going on there? These are, I looked for a tier 6 cavalry and they look like they have an airbag on the back of their packs. I can't really tell what I'm looking at here. Maybe you guys can help make me less ignorant as an American towards the Japanese culture and Japanese war history. But they really do look like they have like either an airbag or a giant parachute sail behind their horse. And the death spam does not look good. I didn't show you, but this is tier 3 and tier 4 archers and musketeers, or the equivalent of firearms, against tier 6 cavalry. And I thought the cavalry here with this improved game would be devastating to archers, right? We would have some balance here in this new mod, but it doesn't look good so far, right? Now, the game looks incredible. The graphics are incredible. The detail is incredible. And the work they put into this mod is amazing. But at least early initial... look at all the muskets firing off in the forest. That looks amazing. At least an initial view here is rather disconcerting towards game balance. This is the best cavalry I could find. Just with the custom battle menu, and they got destroyed by a combination of samurai archers and samurai musketeers. So that's a little bit disconcerting, right? We're hoping for a rock, paper, scissors. Balance is such a critical part of any good game. We all know that vanilla Bannerlord is a little bit broken when it comes to spear cavalry, and it seems like that might be translating over to Shokuho. Now, we're going to run a series of different battles here today. We're going to explore various different tactical opportunities that there might be in Shokuho. Obviously, that's why a lot of you guys are here on this channel, right? You guys are here to learn tactics. I want to see if you can still perform kill boxes. I want to see what the combat mechanics are. I've only been playing for about 20 minutes here just to see if it was stable enough, but I think I have enough momentum under my feet here to make a run at some various different tactical opportunities. Now let's try kill box here, right? We will be outnumbered with elite samurai and whatnot closing in on us. Tier 5, 2 tier 5s and a tier 4 against our tier 3 and tier 4 archers. So we're badly outnumbered and outgunned, and we'll see if archers... I suspect this is going to go badly for the infantry here, which will basically mean archers destroy cavalry and archers destroy infantry. You see where I'm going at there. It's the same problem that is present, or the same dynamic, if you're not going to call it a problem. It's basically Agincourt for Bannerlord, the Battle of Agincourt for Bannerlord, and now evidently for the Japanese feudal era. Now we're going to do a kill box here. We have 4 divisions. I will continue to talk about the game as well as elicit these tactics here. We will demonstrate a little bit, but this is mostly for myself here to see, and the game is stunningly beautiful. Look at all these reflections, but we will continue to talk about this mod, the stability. I'm running at 4K graphics, and my initial impression is, besides the fact that the game is beautiful, it's highly demanding for PCs. I always run at 60 plus frames a second at 4K graphics with vanilla Bannerlord, even in huge battles, and this looks like it's just barely starting to pressure my PC where it might be a little bit less than 60 frames a second. It seems pretty clean, pretty smooth to me, but it does seem graphically intensive. So if you are planning on playing Shokuho, I would recommend that you have a strong system or be prepared to tune down some of the settings here. Now, standard C-shaped formation here will form a crane formation. That was a modified envelopment of the cavalry with troops in the forest, and it was devastatingly effective. Now, it might be the marsh here, but I don't even think they're going to be able to close on us here. We're just going to be able to kite with these archer divisions. Very standard kill box tactics that many of you guys on the channel are performing yourself in your own game. We will do a combination of the RTS mod and some of the game field play like this, but the death spam says it all. These are elite infantry, tier 5, and a tier 4, and we're wrecking shop here with lower level archers. They're not even getting to our troops. In fact, it really does seem like this battle is already over. I'm right at the edge of the map here, but our archers are working. We can start to get behind them here with the 6th Corps. We can kite back with the 4th and 5th. And this battle is over. Now it's just a question of how bad it's going to get. All right, so while we're wrapping up this battle here, it looks to be over already. Let me look at the power bar. They were heavily favored, and we're just destroying these samurai. Of course, they have no shields, right? I'll mention that part first. I think I heard there's no shields in the whole game, which is alarming, right? Maybe the Japanese people just didn't do defense, but that means squares are going to be a little bit different. We'll have to experiment with that. And it also means that kill boxes are a little different, right? You better pre-kite more, but we were able to here, and indeed the enemy is fleeing. Did we have any deaths? We had 1 death against elite samurai here. They just absolutely got ripped apart. I mean, basically a perfect victory, even though we're outnumbered and they have better troops. So off with your head here, samurai. Let's take this guy. You guys can all commit Harry Carry. You might as well if you're facing archers that know what they're doing, because they had no chance. A beautiful tactical battle here, and it indeed demonstrates the value of tactics. Now, we're going to do this a few times, but not too much today. Again, what we'll do here is just demonstrate that that was mostly tactics. I presume the AI won't be able to have that kind of success using the exact same troop battle that we just had. We'll just give the sergeants here 30 seconds or 60 seconds of a debacle with their little soccer ball icons floating above their head. There's water splashing all over the place. It seems really busy. Every single guy or every other guy, it seems like, has a flag. But it is an extraordinarily well-made, polished mod. It's just a question of, are there some imbalances that perhaps should be worked on? I'm starting to feel like I need to be involved in the testing process, unless this is their plan for archers just to devastate everything. Although, now the samurai have reached them. They had a little bit of a peekaboo rush tactics there. The archers couldn't get many shots off before they were right in the face of samurai. And the results are, this is refreshing at least. At least when samurai close, it's a total red screen of massacre. That is good, right? Because at range with the kill box, and I remind you, this is the exact same battle where we had 1 loss, and you put the AI in charge and they insta-die. So it does show, I like that. It does show that tactics are critical for Bannerlord and for Shokuho. Shokuho. Yeah, we'll get it right. Apologies there. I am Daijobu. Inakaga suite imasinka. I speak about 30 words of Japanese. Karate, tsunami. We're going to try not to abuse their language too much here. Love Japanese folks, love their culture, and we want to be respectful. So let's try a few more tactics here. Obviously, the AI can't use archers like we did, but I like that. It does show that tactics are essential for Bannerlord, for Shokuho, and that was a perfect illustration, right? We destroyed their samurai with tactics. We got to be in charge here. Apologies. I'm narrating and playing, and sometimes I make some snafus. With tactics, we devastated them, and without tactics, they got devastated, right? It's a night and day situation. So let's try a square. They don't have shields, but I suspect a square will still have some effect, because the enemy sort of has to wade through the ranks to get to the center. While they're doing that, we can get 3 archer divisions wrapped around the enemy forces and pound them with arrows while they're attacking the square. If I'm honest, after that first battle, we might be able to win here, even if we just charged with our infantry and had our archers spread out. The infantry would buy us time to set up and rake damage before they even turn their wrath on us here. And again, look at the power bar, right? We're hugely outnumbered and hugely disfavored to win this battle. We're massive underdogs here, and I think with some tactics we can still win this. So what I was saying earlier, right? The campaign, the Valandian campaign, will continue. I'm going to be uploading, 3 to 4 episodes a week. A lot of guys are really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it, and I've got some major gnarly episodes coming. But what I've done is I've gone crammed for a midterm to make sure that you guys have plenty of content, because I'm going to dive into this mod for a while. This mod is so beautiful, so dynamic. It really does feel like Bannerlord 2.5 or a DLC pack. In fact, I dare say that this is going to be more different to us players than the DLC will be, right? Even though the DLC plans to add a lot of content, ship warfare, slings, stealth, all kinds of different elements, this is a wholly different game. You're talking muskets, you're talking totally different siege, totally different terrain, very different units, right? No shields. The combat system does feel pretty similar. In fact, we'll probably do a little bit of fighting here. But what I'm basically trying to say here, a long way of saying, we're still going to have regular content on the channel. We'll still be having Siege Defense. We'll still be having the 400 series will continue. And the Valandian Epic campaign will continue. But for about a week, I'm going to be cramming a whole bunch of Shokuho content onto the channel as I explore tactically. We will definitely try some Siege. We will talk more about some of the things that I have noticed so far. Now, of course, I'm just starting. You guys are getting this episode hot off the press as they engage our square. Our archers just rake here. The bottom line, though, is that understand that the content will continue on the channel, and interspersed very soon, including this episode, you guys will be getting lots of Shokuho content, including a playthrough. Now, I must say, I plan initially the playthrough to be on Patreon. Again, as a support for the Patreon supporters, a couple bucks a month. You can join our Patreon crew. If you want to contribute a little bit more than that, you get all kinds of perks like the ability to name characters, companions, etc. in campaigns in the future, maybe even a Shokuho campaign, right? If you want to be one of our campaigns in a future, or one of our companions in a future campaign, come on over to our Patreon channel, and those episodes of a Shokuho, no one's going to join if I can't pronounce it, that campaign playthrough, sort of a casual playthrough, will be on Patreon and hopefully ad-free as a thank you for their support. Now, I'm doing that because I don't want to flood the channel with 4 episodes every day of this playthrough as we explore this mod, right? They're not going to have fancy cutscenes. There won't be an intricate, complicated, crazy storyline like some of our other campaigns. If there's enough interest, long-term, we may do an epic playthrough in Shokuho. It certainly has all the requisites to make for an epic campaign. All kinds of beautiful scenes, and very fresh compared to regular Bannerlord. Like I said, this really does feel like Bannerlord 2.5. But that said, in the short term at least, look for that content on Patreon. And on the main channel here, we will, on the main YouTube channel, we will continue to focus on tactics. I will do a little bit of Siege Defense with Shokuho and see what I can glean from it and offer to you guys as help in your own campaigns. And we will talk more about units and things like that. The combat is very similar to Bannerlord. I notice a few things. Swords are a little bit less destructive, at least this custom battle character. Of course, I don't have an advanced character yet. Muskets are deadly, incredibly deadly, because unlike arrows where you can kind of see the volley coming, you just get one shot. I had a couple of custom battles where I just got insta-killed by muskets riding around on my horse. I took 100 damage, shot in the leg no less, so I guess it ripped the leg off. Well, that worked beautifully. So a square and surround and drown archers, again, demolished the samurai. The square did break down pretty quickly, but all in all, I would say archers are still the cat's meow when it comes to Shokuho, right? It does seem like balance is still a little bit of an issue. And like I said, I wish some of the developers of Shokuho would have come to the channel or came up to more people like me and said, hey, we know you do tactics. We'd love to hear your opinion on stuff. They really need to increase cavalry damage to archers. Right, if that was any kind of a first showing there that we completely devastated tier 6 cavalry with our tier 4 archers, that's not a good sign, right? Now the AI is not terrific with cavalry. We will try to reverse that, right? We will try playing a bunch of cavalry against archers. First, let's just make sure cavalry are balanced against infantry. And what I mean by that is against a bunch of spear infantry, like this is samurai and they have spears, our cavalry should be destroyed, even with tactics. So we'll see. Maybe it's completely different, right? Where it's rock beats paper and paper beats scissors, right? Maybe cavalry devastates infantry, which would be a really strange Twilight world for me, right? That's basically the opposite historically, and the fact that so far archers mangled cavalry, that's also pretty backwards, right? With the exception of battles like Agincourt. People always refer to that most of the time, man, I mean, just think about it practically. Think about it from a physics level. If you charged hundreds or thousands of cavalry through archers, guys on horse with a spear, armored horses, and then dudes on foot, maybe with a leather jerkin or something like that, some light armor, those guys are annihilated, man. They would get hit by the horses. Most of them would just run because nobody wants to get trampled to death by a bunch of horses, you know, hit with a spear going 30 miles an hour. You're just destroyed. Now, the samurai here are not biting on our square. The AI is actually being kind of cagey here, but we're still going to try to flank. Although these little parachutes, the airbags, it almost looks like they're advertising for Toshiba or something like that. There's some little icon on the back, like a bunch of triangles. I don't know what that is. You guys, again, can enlighten my ignorance. Ignorance is not, by the way, like a lot of people treat that as such a bad word. It just means lack of knowledge. I don't know Japanese warfare on this kind of level. I would love to know what these airbags are on the back of these cavalry's backs. I'm making fun of them. Of course, anybody who's offended by it on the channel needs to understand, and the guys that are regulars know that I make fun of everything. I make fun of white people. I make fun of Japanese warfare. I make fun of stupid-ass Swedish people. I make fun of stupid-ass Germans. You guys are all fodder for my jokes, including myself, right? I'm frequently a stupid asshole when I play Bannerlord, so just bear with me and not too much hate mail. So the cavalry there got devastated by infantry. That's good, right? I think that's a positive change. Let's see what happens here, right? Again, a whole bunch of cavalry, and it's archer time, right? Let's see what happens where we have the cavalry and the enemy has the archers. We should be able to win this, but we saw earlier the enemy with a whole bunch of archers just absolutely... Oh, whoops, I'm sorry. I did another infantry battle here. Let's see if I'm trying to think if I want to edit this out. Let's just go ahead and run through this one more time here. See if a little bit different tactics can succeed. We'll run a frontal charge with wings collapsing here to try to have more success. I am narrating these live, and sometimes I'll edit this out later on. Let's talk about mods real quick. I slowly added 3-4 mods, kind of anticipating, the application has crashed kind of thing, and I was amazed. First, that Shokuho works so well with so many mods, and second, I didn't have to update the versions. I was stunned. What I basically did is took the exact same mods that I'm using for the Bannerlord campaign, the Valandian Epic, yeah, you know what I mean, the Epic Valandian campaign. I had to change the game version to 1.212 or whatever it is. I'm 1.28 for the Valandian campaign. As we close in here, I suspect we're going to get annihilated again, so I'll just keep talking about the mods. But everything else was the same. I didn't even change the RGS camera. In other words, the same mod list that I did an episode covering mods maybe a couple weeks ago will still work for Shokuho. Damn it. Freaking ignorant American. Daijobu. Shokuho. We'll get it. We'll just keep saying it over and over again. So for Shokuho, all the same mods worked beautifully. Now, I'm not using all the mods yet. I haven't tried every single mod that we're using for the Epic Valandian campaign, but this is about 12 of the mods. You've already seen the RTS mod. We have the Dismemberment mod working. We've got a host of other mods, Better Time, Time Pass, things like that, and they're working beautifully. So, it's interesting, it really is stable. I mean, kudos to the creators of this mod. You could really argue that this could be a $20 or $30 DLC, and it would be a fair price because this really feels like an expansion pack. I've become an advocate for these mod makers. If you play Shokuho and you like it, I recommend you just toss a few bucks, or $5 or $10 if you could afford it, to the mod makers on Nexus. Maybe they have another page where they take some donations, because these guys really are, it's a labor of love, a little bit like our channel here, hence the Patreon channel. But these guys could really, I was going to say they could really use the support. You know what? They deserve the support, right? This is a phenomenal mod. Now again, we're still going to find warts. You just won't find a woman or a game out there without warts, right? There are going to be problems with this mod. There are going to be either bugs or crashes or imbalance issues. That's just part of life, right? In all my life playing video games, I think I've played like 1 or 2 sort of perfect video games. All the rest are, they're B+, A-, or whatever, if I'm going to play them. This is clearly a highly polished, beautiful, well-done mod. And, if I wasn't controlling my character here, I would give a round of applause, right? This is a beautiful mod. So mods worked very well, very stable with it so far, right? Haven't experienced too many crashes. The game adds a bunch of different dynamics. I must mention, you cannot use, at least as of this airing, you cannot use RBM with this mod, right? It has elements that sort of feel RBM-like. Combat is a little bit slower at times. Infantry combat feels slower, but you can't use RBM. Those fans of RBM won't be able to use it. But most of the other mods that I like so far are working just beautifully. The game does redo the diplomacy system, which is much needed, and of course that will be part of future episodes as we bring in our cavalry sale here to try to wrap up these archers. I probably should have mentioned that. This is just our elite cavalry. You can see our power bar, and it does work. If you keep your cavalry moving, the AI doesn't seem to know what to do with their archers here. They're sort of randomly running around until they all get trampled. And at least with the AI in charge of the archers, they get destroyed by cavalry. That's not a very good test, though. I just think it's still alarming that I was able to easily control archers and devastate elite cavalry. But at least we know that it's not like archers themselves are just superheroes. It's if they're used correctly, they're devastating. Here, we're just completely obliterating this archer division. And what it really shows, actually, is what they need in Shokuho and Bannerlord, more generally speaking. And this is the gold for any modders out there. It's probably extremely hard to do, is better combat AI. Those archers really did seem like they ran around like chickens with their heads cut off until their heads were cut off, right? They basically didn't fire around or almost never shot, and we were able just to trample them to death. That's not good, right? That's not, neither is it realistic, but it's also not challenging, right? They should at least present a challenge to you, and that was anything but. All right, we've botched this a few times. We'll have to do some editing here. Again, we're going to try this tier 6 cavalry against our low-level archers here and see if they have any chance here. I have my doubts because so far it really does seem like cavalry, and you know, it's an AI thing, right? This is, again, it's gold for any mod makers that are out there. If you could improve the AI for Bannerlord with a mod, you're getting a job, right, with Tail Worlds, and hopefully Tail Worlds is working on this, right? This is probably one of the biggest desires and needs for most players, is to see better AI, variability to the AI, but just more intelligence, right? The archers should not run around for 2 minutes looking for a safe spot while cavalry trample them into the dust and they don't shoot, right? That's just, it's not acceptable. Here, again, we'll try this brutal challenge where we're outnumbered. You can see the power bar. The power bar says you lose for sure. And yet, I think with these archers, we should be able to melt these guys. Now, we got some line of sight issues here. We're going to have to kind of pull guys out of the trees. The airbag divisions pour in on us again. I'm going through my logical checklist, and I cannot think of any reason of why they would have a giant airbag. It looks like a car airbag on the back of their packs. Maybe they've got 6 months of air to breathe in case they land on Mars or something like that. Maybe that's in case someone attacks them from behind. It pops their airbag first, and then they can keep on fighting. But it's extraordinarily odd. Obviously, I'm making light of the fact that it seems pretty counterintuitive to every single thing I've ever understood about warfare. But I digress here. We're going to say nice things about this mod, especially because it is so well made. The Realm of Throne mods, I've talked about this a few times in various different episodes. Balance is such a big, difficult part with games, right? The actual vanilla Bannerlord is fairly balanced. Even though Spear Cavalry is kind of weak, the general balance between troops is pretty good. Infantry smash archers. Archers get torched most of the time by mixed armies. Cavalry get mauled by infantry. You know, there's a decent rock, paper, scissors, with one exception, of course, that archers used correctly are devastating. Well, Realm of Thrones had real problems with balance. And also the game map was so big. I think the mod makers were so ambitious to recreate Westeros, or whatever it's called, that the game kind of feels a little bit empty at times, which is amazing because there's a huge amount of different clans and stuff like that. You can go days sometimes without seeing a major enemy or an enemy army, and to me it just seemed a little bit slow. and sort of anticlimactic. I was really excited for Realm of Thrones, and I still want to do a playthrough someday. A lot of guys want to see that for the channel, but for the time being, a little bit more balancing with that before it becomes something that we're going to spend a huge amount of time on. Now, again, we devastated elite cavalry, Kanto elite cavalry. We got basically a 2-to-1 kill ratio with our archers. I think this is not terrific, right? And hopefully the mod viewers, hopefully some of them do see, right? We got 27,000 subscribers. Eventually we're going to become a little bigger player here in the Bannerlord universe. Just increase the charge damage, fellas. That's all you got to do. Just make it so that instead of doing 8 or 12 when they hit an archer, you know, at full speed, even without their spear, make it do 40. Right? Make it so that 3 horses in a row hit your archer, they're dead, right? Because that would happen to a human as well. And I think that alone would probably fix that issue with cavalry and archers, right? Infantry would still dominate cavalry. Cavalry then would dominate archers, and then archers would dominate infantry, and you have a pretty good balancing mix for it. Now let's try some basic infantry tactics. This is just the initial intro here to tactics. Obviously, my tactical background across different games and with my historical knowledge translates very well to games like this, right? Because I can use tactics from history that work. Now, I don't know a lot of Japanese battlefield history, but I know a ton of medieval, ancient, and early modern battlefield tactics, whether it's Frederick the Great, Alexander the Great, some other greats, right? We're gonna study Napoleon and stuff like that and apply some of the battlefield tactics to Bannerlord and to Shokuho and see if they work, right? This first battle here, we can try an oblique order, right? Oblique order, I don't remember the general who tried it like 2,200 years ago and not tried it. He succeeded. But in the 1760s, Frederick the Great pulled this off at an incredibly important battle during the 7 Years' War. An oblique order is basically where you try to load up one side of your infantry line and then peel around the corner there and envelop the enemy. We'll see if it works with Shokuho. I suspect it will. Although we'll see, right? We're slightly outnumbered here, and infantry tactics, you know, they're a very marginal game. In other words, a marginal game. You're not gonna dramatically turn a battle with infantry tactics, with a few exceptions, and we'll see if the few exceptions that I'm thinking of may work. This is not working, right? This is an oblique order, at least in that formation. Line formation did not work. We'll blaze through these, right? We're using the RTS mod. I'm not going to play all these to completion because you could usually tell in an infantry battle in the first 60 seconds or so whether or not your tactic is going to work. And that is because if you get an additional, say, 70 or 80 kills on the enemy early on, the battle's over, right? Because now you have a numerical advantage. You can just F1, F3. Let's try a double flanked square, right? So we'll put a square in the center with a feint retreat. I'm not going to list all the battles here that this was used, right? It's a little bit of a variation of Hannibal at Cannae, but this formation of all of them, I suspect, is going to work the best. The enemies suck towards the center. We will kite on the flanks. We'll pull this square back as they come in. Hopefully, we can attack them the whole way. And if this isn't successful, then I'm going to have to reach deeper into my little tactical bag of tricks here. The enemy's happy to envelop themselves. Of course, a real player would split, although they are splitting. That said, about 2/3 or 3/4 of the infantry is surrounding the square, so let's charge in on the wings here. We have a huge numerical advantage on both wings, and they are enveloping the square. But I think that square on defense will hold out long enough for the wings to destroy the enemy troops, and then once they close, this battle is going to be over. And look at the death span, right? The death span looks fantastic. This is the exact same formations we just had outnumbered where we lost, and a feinted retreat with double flanking action seems to be a very successful infantry tactic for Shokuho. I want to try a false gap. We will definitely experiment with envelopment processes, i.e. an infantry killbox. We could try just naked flanks, right? There's a bunch of different infantry tactics that'll probably have some level of success with Shokuho, but this one for sure worked. That square actually held out. Now everybody's on charge. Eventually you want that square fighting too, and it's highly successful, right? Working on a 2.5 to 1 kill ratio. I mean, that's fantastic, right? So there's for sure a tactic you guys can add to your Shokuho tactical tool list, right? Again, we're outnumbered, facing the same quality of infantry, and we just totally obliterated them with that feint retreat and double flanking action. So false gap is another tactic we can experiment with. A false gap is where you have essentially two different divisions and then have them attack your flanks while they pull back, come through the center, and then obliterate them from the center. Let's just try a naked flank here with a little bit of a feint action. Whichever one of these divisions they attack, we'll pull back. It looks like they're coming towards the right here. Slow this down just a little bit. And then what we'll do is attack with the other division, basically forcing them to choose whether to be pursued and attacked or to turn their attention to the other division. Of course, if they turn our attention to the division here on the left, we will charge with our division on the right. And we're totally mauling them here in pursuit, right? Their troops are trying to chase, and we're racking up additional kills here. We're going to keep kiting. And eventually, both of these divisions we will charge. Let's see what they do. They're just letting us cut their divisions down as we pursue. We can form a square there. Okay, they just shifted. Let's go ahead and center this division and attack. Now, both of these lines are collapsing on them. And again, I mentioned it before, but you're not going to get 4-to-1, 5-to-1 advantages with infantry tactics and Bannerlord. You can do that with archers. We saw that earlier, right? A tier 5 samurai infantry, they outnumbered us, and we had tier 3 and 4 archers, and we decimated their tier 5 samurai. We had one loss, right? So your archers are still your key to tactics in Shokuho and in Bannerlord itself, but a small tactical advantage here, although it's starting to fade. I would say a naked flank here was relatively ineffective. I would say so far of all the tactics we've tried so far, for sure, a square with collapsing flanks seemed to work the best. Now we are going to explore more cavalry tactics. We are going to explore things like dismounted cavalry, flanking. We will experiment with hammer and anvil. We will definitely do horse archer tactics, right? Horse archers, there's actually musket-wielding horses in this game. Of course, you know, fellas, we're going to do siege. But this is just our little intro episode today. You see it says compiling shaders, all the different graphics they have. It does sometimes take maybe 30% to 50% longer to load, but I think that's a small price to pay, right? You get an incredibly beautiful advanced game like this, and you're going to have that effect. Just because it's a tactic that gets used a lot in medieval and frankly on Bannerlord by players out there. It's a really popular tactic. We'll do a little bit of a false gap here with feint retreats on both flanks, and we'll see how this works. So the two wings get moved aside basically to try to pull enemy troops. You want it to pull all their troops. It's interesting. They're just ignoring it, so we'll have our wings attack. This is not normally how it goes. Usually they will aggro those lines and attack them. They just flat out ran by them like they couldn't see them. We'll square this division towards the back, charge with both divisions on the wings. Now they're attacking them, so let's charge with that square. It's almost like the AI deked me right there. They said they're pulling back, now they're charging. We'll see, though. We did gain probably an extra 50 kills at the beginning of this battle. 30 kills. 30, kills with a couple deaths. So that hopefully pays dividends. The enemy routed hard in the center. And indeed, this was fairly successful. So I was probably speeding it along too quick. Your false gap didn't really work quite as expected, but still pretty successful. I would say this is a viable strategy, maybe even really viable based on, it looks like about a 2-to-1 kill ratio here as the enemy gets obliterated. Let's get them maxed out archer quality, infantry quality, and hopefully I haven't seen any tier 6 units left. This kingdom doesn't have any tier 6. Oh, here we go. They have tier 5 and looks like tier 6 horse archers. So we'll still give them lots of infantry. Let's do a last stand type of situation, a last samurai kind of stand in a village setting. Let's give them a bunch of troops. We're outnumbered like 80%. We've got this tier 6 archer. In fact, they kind of look like fiend champs to me. They look like samurai archers. We've got some tier 3 through 5 infantry, some good horse archers, but let's do mostly archers. And you know what? Let's just crank the shit out of this. You guys want to see a challenge. Let's see tactically what we can do here with Tokai. We've got this samurai looking mofo, and let's just go ahead and make this brutal, right? We'll have a last stand in the village, go down swinging, and see what we can't do here with tactics. Let's have some fun, right? You guys have been watching tactics now for probably a half an hour. And what do we have here? Let's see. It's another one of those sort of rice fields. This is actually a really good tactical setup, provided we can get our infantry up there. We can make infantry squares underneath that undulating hill there, and I think they'll be out of line of sight of archers and maybe even horse archers. So let's see, 1, 2. Let's run 3 archer divisions, the 4th, 5th, and 6th. Infantry in the 1st and 8th will be squares. We're still going to try to square until this system basically tells me it doesn't work, right? We're going to essentially learn this system on the fly here. Some tactics will be universal, and others we're going to get our shit pushed in and look like a dipshit. Now, this ridge here is nice because they have a little bit of cover, I think, from any horse archers circling. We can counter their horse archers with our 36 horse archers. We will flank with archers for enfilade fire, have moving squares in the center, and then try to cause chaos and carnage with our cavalry divisions, the 2nd and 3rd. 36 horse archers. And let's see what we can do here, right? We've got better troops, but we're hugely outnumbered. And with the battle size mod, it is working. That means they're going to have the full 1,000 units on the battlefield at the same time. Oh shit, need a horse? Give me your horse. Nice looking horse there. Thanks, little Japanese carjacking. Grand Theft Auto 0.1. And let's move the 1st. Let's see, let's put the 8th right here underneath this little pathway. Let's tuck the 1st against this building, right? That way they won't get shot by archers. When you don't have shields, you're going to have to improvise, right? And so this game is going to make me think outside the box. 5th and 6th and long sprays here. And the enemy's got to wade through this little rice paddy or whatever it is, right? This little field that's all flooded. I am a gardener, and I think so there are certain crops that just love to be wet like that. It's a little almost like a variation of hydroponics. And you can see the full 1,000 units against us here. I hear shit. I hear people shooting. I think that's horse archers. I think some of their horse archers might be shooting at us. So let's tuck our square against the wall there and see how this develops. Now, mostly they have infantry, although we're outnumbered so bad, they're going to have a lot of everything. Let's give them a little cav line there. I like, cav just to essentially stop a charge, right? And here, in fact, here come the horse archers. Our cavalry's just in time, and look at them getting melted by that fire. It's a peekaboo ridge, right? Look at this guy, lost your horse. Now you lost your head, dude. You never want to lose your horse when they're a samurai in the field. And that cavalry division seemed like it spooked them, not getting smoked by arrows. We're going to have to move this 1st division here. They're already getting swarmed. And look at the hordes of enemies coming over this ridge. This is gnarly. All right, let's move this square here. This other cav division is just they were kind of guarding that right flank. We don't need them there. Let's drag them into the field here. We're chopping off heads and left and right. It's beautiful that the dismemberment mod works so flawlessly with this mod. I think we've got good distancing with most of our archers for now, right? We'll see what the Zerg presents itself. Remember, there's, 700 infantry coming our way. But they don't have shields, right? So our guys firing muskets, shooting arrows, and the death spam, shows you that, right? It's just a melting. Now, I can't see shit in the forest here. We'll stay out of the woods. This guy is a badass. Whatever custom battle character he is like a one-handed samurai. He is cleaving heads. We've got a beautiful kite situation here as the enemy wades into the marshes. We can bring our horse archers up to cause even more carnage, but I like the feel of this. I mean, we've got them absolutely reeling. They come over that ridge and they just meet decimating fire, right? It's muskets and arrows from 3 different angles. Our horse archers are in here causing carnage. Now we can drag our cavalry around and essentially just try to cause disruption. The cavalry's probably not doing major damage, as we've already discovered, right? Cavalry just are not terrific in Bannerlord, and that remains the same in Shokuho. Shokuho. I will continue to say it like a westernized dipshit and do my best. Shokuho. Pulled these horse archers back. All I wanted to do is spook their horse archers. It worked. Let's kite with a few divisions here, but we're also low on ammo. I see guys just holding their bow, so we're going to gather up here for a charge. We've got all these samurai. They've dispelled a lot of their arrows. It says they have a lot of ammo, but then I see guys just standing there holding a sword. So it's time to do a little bit of melee here, right? This enemy's for sure reeling. It's been virtually non-stop green death spam. And it's not like we gave the enemy weak troops, right? We're smashing our way through their best troops. I think we have better troops. It's basically the Fiend Champ, Japanese style. Let's join our guys here, right? We're playing fucking a Japanese style sword fighting game, right? Let's get on the lines here with the charge with the 6th Corps. We will hold fire when we make this charge in coordination with these other divisions, right? This is going to be awesome. Now, you got to watch arrow fire, right? You basically got to get lucky, right? You got to hope that you don't catch one, and musket fire too, and in we go, right? It's not major damage, but this guy's got a fast swinging sword. He's got enough athleticism to kind of bob and weave here. and we just flattened their line. I mean, these troops, I think it's Tokai or whatever, they seem wildly overpowered, although maybe it's just me. Let's grab a horse here. The archers are next. We can push horse archers towards them as our lines continue to move up. Archers are still shooting muskets, so I'm going to have to learn the ammunition system, of course. I don't have any experience with this. This is just shoot from the hip, literally. But we've got enough Bannerlord experience to make this fucking foe real. I mean, they look like they're routing. We absolutely devastated their infantry. Their archers are pulling back. Let's make these guys rout too, right? Some more beheadings here on the way out. One for the road, you bitches. I'm going to have to learn the Japanese word for bitches. I'm going to have to speak a little Japanese, and hopefully, actual Japanese fellas can forgive me, right? I definitely respect Japanese culture. I respect all cultures, really. This guy's like, as he cuts down peasants and skilled OU infantry. Maybe that's how you pronounce it. And what a devastating battle that was. I'm looking up now. We have half our troops. That was amazing. And they sound like they're laughing. They are laughing. We fucked them up, General. I mean, we got half our troops left, and we just butchered 1,000 troops. Yeah. So I don't know how much is these troops and how much is tactics, but the death rate there is astonishing. We're talking a 20-to-1 kill ratio for some of these troops. So, the good way to test it is just sergeant in charge. Now, this is not optimal because the sergeant often doesn't do terrific. We all know that when you're playing AI. I think it's basically vanilla AI, which is unfortunate. Maybe the AI is so difficult to program, nobody's really solved it yet. Of course, I'm just in charge of my own character, and this is a pretty dismal formation. And we got horse archers cycling in. Our horse archers are sent out to harass them. And I'm probably going to speed through at least until we hit the melee lines here. Remember, there's 700-something infantry. Whoops. There's like 700 infantry coming. We're going to have heavy blows here. They've got cavalry moving up, and unfortunately, our troops are in a huge glob here. Let's slow this shit down, otherwise I'll get cut down. The death spam's great, right? They're closing into musket fire and tier 6 archers. But I think once they close, it's going to be a very different battle. Let's join our men here. Our captain said our goal is to make a defensive stand. I think we just did that last episode, but I don't know where you were. Damn, that guy took a lot of damage. I do love the combat mechanics to it. It seems like it's a little less damage. Actually, it seems variable, right? I've been hit for a lot of damage by like a musket round, which I guess makes sense. And then, you got to slash a guy 4 times with the katana. Oh shit, I just got decked. Oh shit, I'm getting pursued and cut down. This guy's got bad athleticism, I can't get away. But just like there, I got slashed over the head, and I'm still up here wailing away. Of course, we're using normal player damage and just fighting for our life here. The death spam just, I don't know, I'm not looking directly at it. I could see it with my peripheral, and it just fucking flushed red. And I think our army just disintegrated. Now, this is a battle. We just mauled the enemy, and you put the AI in charge, and, how many times have we said it, right? The AI crashes your Tesla directly into a garbage truck. Your wife... Not only are you and your girlfriend and your wife, well, I guess your girlfriend and your wife, you got quite a life going on there as I get the beat down. Everybody gets killed, and you smell like garbage. So they can't even have a funeral for you because your corpse now smells like garbage. Don't use the AI, right? That was a debacle. They barely got a 1-to-1 kill ratio with an army where we annihilated the enemy in the previous battle. That was stressful. Man, that was stressful. The previous battle, which was really stressful, was easier than that just because it was such an ugly affair. As these guys, I swear they're laughing at me. Maybe that's culturally correct. We've got this beautiful gleam of sunrise, though, coming over Mount Fuji, whatever that is, a little tiny hill here. And we're going to wrap this episode up. But that was eye-opening, this intro, little hour-long session into Shokuho. We'll get it eventually there, fellas. And if I'm mispronouncing it still, feel free to correct my ignorant ass. I don't like to be ignorant. I don't want to spread ignorance. So, really interesting, though. A highly variable mod. A lot of stuff to chew on here. So, we're going to have a playthrough. We're going to do more tactics, of course. There's Siege. Join us for the ride. Right now is where you want to subscribe. Hit that like button on the way out, fellas. Episodes will be on Patreon. And I will see you, friends, next time.